Hello, Galaxy. I'm Chris Pirillo, and I love sharing my thoughts, opinions, perspectives, my advice with you. Thank you again for listening and maybe even asking for my advice, because I'd be happy to share that directly. But if I say something that doesn't quite fit your perspective, that's okay. One size definitely does not fit all. So feel free to offer a suggestion or potentially another idea or alternative to what it is that I put out there, if only to further the conversation or to create a dialogue, because I could always learn something new. In fact, that's kind of the basis for today's advice. I wasn't always doing this. This wasn't always an option for me. Video. Certainly not live video, because I happen to be recording this live on Twitch. It's where I am every night at 6 p.m. It's just easier to record videos this way with a live community audience, even though that once the video's been clipped out and exists beyond live, it's no longer live, but I shot it live to tape, so to speak. It's not really tape. Yeah, did I say I was an expert in this? No, I'm not. But one thing that I have done is increased my confidence in my ability to deliver what it is that I want to say, and try to do it as concisely as I can while still being rooted in reality, my reality, being myself, playing to a camera, talking to a camera. But I'm not always talking to a camera. This is an on Chris. Now sometimes when you see me, I may be concentrating on one thing or another, and I may not be as animated because I may not be talking about something that I care to be animated about, or it's something that doesn't animate me. But when you see me doing this may have been natural at one point, or at least that natural feeling, the inclination to talk the way that I'm talking and do the things that I'm doing. I still had to do it, and I had to do it over and over and over and over again. I had to increase repetition, and I had to stay in it, because that kind of familiarity continues to just breed a better process as I go along. I iterate, I change, I modify how I might do things to make what it is that I'm doing even better. So for that reason, if you watched a video that I did 10 years ago, it would certainly look different. But I would apparently, conceivably have done it differently, because maybe my talent, if you would call it that, wasn't necessarily as refined as it is now, because I've put in a lot more work. I've put in a lot more hours. Forget about the technology improving. That's secondary. I feel I'm much more confident today than I was 10 years ago. And certainly 20 years ago, I'm more confident than I was. But that kind of confidence only comes about from doing things and repeating that cycle. They say that practice makes perfect, and I tend to agree, but I also have some degree of drive and striving for a better outcome from my efforts, that ambition to do something, because my outcome is going to be that I want to do a job well. Like any job worth doing is worth doing well. But if you've never done something before, and you don't have like just this an innate ability to do one thing or another, you may not have confidence, and that's okay. It's okay to walk into something not knowing that you whether or not you can do it, or knowing whether or not you could do it, I should say, and modifying or changing your approach the next time, if there is a next time. Maybe you learned after doing it once that it's not as interesting for you, or maybe your ambition will just keep you pushing through until you've achieved something that you didn't think was achievable in the first place. And with that comes confidence. The more you do something, the more you understand something, the deeper you go, the longer you do it, your confidence will increase. So if you want to increase your confidence, keep doing it. Keep trying. I've spoken about not being afraid to fail. This is very, very much swimming in the same pool. I mean, if you want to learn how to swim, I can swim. Maybe not well. If I wanted to get better, if I wanted to increase my confidence, I know I would have to do it. But you're not going to ever increase your confidence by not doing something. by being caught in what they call analysis paralysis, or overthinking it, or coming up with excuses. If you want to increase your confidence with anything in your life, whether it's talking to a camera, that's just one example. Whether it's swimming, that's another example. Whether it's talking to other people, whether it's, handling rejection, whatever it is. And actually, that last example may be a good thing to dive into briefly here as well. Because no one wants to feel rejection. Who wants to feel rejection? No one wants to feel that. But the more you're rejected, the closer you get to not being rejected. All those rejections get easier and easier to deal with because it's something that you've felt before, and if you can deal with that feeling, because you have to deal with your feelings, you must, or they will consume you. Even those feelings that you failed in something, they may bring you closer to refining your process so that you will eventually succeed. Eventually, you will land something that is not a rejection. So the way to increase your confidence on your way to success is to not look forward to failing, but expecting you're going to fail. Expecting you're not going to do it as well today as you will 10 years from now. But you're not just going to automatically make that leap. Like if you decided, I'm jumping back and forth between these examples, but if you decided you wanted to be, an Olympic swimmer, may be an extreme example, you're not going to be that if you tried it once, waited 10 years, and then tried it again. It won't happen. Your confidence, you may believe that you know everything about everything. No. I'm not one of those people who's a fake it till you make it kind of guy. I'm not at all. Like, I know a lot of the self-help folks out there, and all sunshines and lollipops, and the positivity, and the goals, and the self-help and all that stuff. They've never done it. They're just fake it till you make it, and I can sense that typically from someone, and for me that's a turnoff. Like, the people that I trust are the people that have done something, the people who have achieved something, and I'm not talking about anything grand. Just they're talking because they have that experience, and that kind of confidence comes across differently than the confidence from someone who doesn't know what they're talking about, and they're just regurgitating, or they're just going through the motions. That's not the kind of confidence I'm talking about. I'm talking about gaining true confidence, where you don't have to go overboard, and you don't have to fake it till you make it, because you've made it, whatever that it happens to be. You've been through it. You've accomplished something. That's the kind of confidence that you want. That's the kind of confidence that you exude, whether or not you realize you are. That's the kind of confidence that will be very, very attractive to other people. That's the kind of confidence that you might admire, as opposed to the fake confidence, the building things up. And I'm not talking about having to psych yourself. It's important. Sometimes you got to psych yourself. Sometimes you psych yourself out. Sometimes you have to talk yourself out of not doing something to push forward. If you want to gain confidence, you have to do it. You have to stop coming up with excuses. You got to make the time, and you got to repeat it. And you got to understand that by being in that cycle and being in whatever repetition you're in, that pattern will improve. It may be in small ways, and maybe not in ways that you're expecting it to improve, but you got to stick with it. You got to find a formula that works for you, whatever it is. Whatever you want to accomplish, to be able to gain confidence in and around that. Whether you're talking about, your like a belief structure, your confidence in your beliefs, your confidence in a skill or an ability or a mastery of one thing or another. Sorry, my mind was spinning, like whether we're talking about educational topics, mastery of language, whatever happens to be. These are going to be the same principles. And it's never going to happen if you do nothing. It's never going to happen if you continue to be gripped by the fear of failing. It's never going to happen if you do it just once. It's never going to happen if you're scared of the outcome. It's never going to happen if you lack the ambition and the drive to see it through, whatever that ultimate goal happens to be. So if you want to increase your confidence, that's what I believe it's going to take.